thank you all for being here, because without you here, I can't do what I do. And my dreams coming alive require people on the other end to listen to it. And that might seem small and insignificant, but as you start to pursue your dreams, as you start to turn your pain into your power and move towards what you were born on this planet to be here to do in this life, other people, the cooperative components that show up along the way, are going to be the game changers. And that is, so I just want to express my utmost gratitude for all of you for being here today with me. Like Katie said, I am a published author, a life coach, a sex coach, and a motivational speaker. I'm actually going to be giving a sex talk tomorrow. So speaking of all the sex talks, it's a topic that I'm also very, very passionate about. I think it's full. I don't know if you can squeeze in or get on the waiting list, but it's going to be awesome as well. That's who I am, the labels I have standing up here right now talking to you. But I was not always in this place. And in fact, just 4 years ago, I was in the swamp of my pain. 4 years to the day is my sobriety anniversary. To the day, almost to the hour. Thank you. Thank you. And when I woke up on this day 4 years ago, and I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't recognize who I saw. It's like I could see that there was something deeper than what was staring me back. There was something there. There was an essence. I don't know if it was my soul. I don't know what it was, but that was calling me. But it was covered in this gray. It was covered in this, the choices that I had made that had led me to this point. And on that day, looking in the mirror, I decided to take the needle and move it in the complete opposite direction, which is why I am standing here right now. And it was all the incremental choices that I made along the way. And this is the thing, you guys, is we are all waiting for the clouds to part, for a brick to drop on our head, for God to come down and tell us that it's time to change, tell us that it's okay to move towards where we want to be, move towards what feels good to us, not what other people are telling us to do, not what society is telling us to do, but moving towards what feels good to us. And we're all just waiting. We're waiting for this elusive decision maker or this elusive permission slip to follow our dreams, to follow our desires, to follow, even if it's just that one little thing that feels better to you than where you are right now. That permission slip is not coming. I mean, I'll write them. You can come see me in the back after. I'll write you your fucking permission slip if that's what you need to wake up. For me, it was my rock bottom. For me, I had to hit that place to start waking up, to start really, really waking up. And stop listening to the voices of doubt, the voices of fear, the voices of not enoughness. And this is the thing, you guys. So I'm here talking about turning your pain into your power. My pain was drug and alcohol abuse, but I want you to understand that that was just a manifestation of an internal struggle. And I actually refuse to use the word addict. I have never once called myself an addict. And I still don't refer to myself as a recovered addict. And there's a reason for this. And this is I'm going to talk about this in a second more about like turning our pain, turning that from that point to the opposite point. But when we look at a label and we fight it, we cannot move in the other direction. When we look at something and battle it, all we're doing is inviting more of that presence, more of that energy, more of that pain into our life. And I think that getting sober for me was easy because I didn't fight it. The pain of abusing drugs and alcohol was hard. That was painful. 10 years of that I did, but that decision in that split second was easy for me because I fully committed. I burned my ships and I did not look back. And I really want you to hear the essence of this, because the essence of this, of not looking at the problem and battling the problem, this is the underlying concept that is causing war in all of our world. And the war in all of our world that's going on, the political war, I don't want to go there, but all this stuff is coming up is a reflection of the internal conflict, the internal war that most people are living on a day-to-day basis. And we heal the planet, we heal the world, we heal the massive problems that are going on by healing internally, by looking at what's inside of us and turning towards what feels better. So that's why I refuse to call myself an addict, because I refuse to look at problems and try and beat them up. Because the only way is to move towards who we are meant to be. So what I teach in my book, the first half is my memoir. It's my journey. It's like, it goes really deep. I had a partner who was an addict. He passed away. There was a lot of components that landed me here and landed me in those decisions. And I go deep into that in my book. I don't unfortunately have time in the 20 minutes we have today before the Q&A. But deeper than that, the second half of my book, I go into my teachings, which is Be Yourself Blueprint. And this sounds really simple. People are like, well, how can you teach people to be themselves? Isn't that the simplest thing in the world? And I'm like, you would think. But this is what happens, you guys. And I have the privilege of being able to analyze my own journey along the way and dissect it and really go internal and see what was going on and see the choices I was making and see why I was doing things. And then now as a coach, I get to see that in other people and I get to help them through their process. And I start to see these things. I start to see these patterns. And what happens is we're born into this world. We're born into these bodies, into this beautiful place. And we are handed a mold. We are handed a blueprint. We are handed a system of who we have to be from the second we arrive. Who do we have to be to get our parents' love? We're doing it without even knowing we're doing it. Shifting, shaping, changing who we are to receive love from them. And then we enter the school system. And it's the same thing, a very specific set of criteria for who we have to be successful in the eyes of somebody else. And each step along the way, who we are gets squashed further and further down. So without even knowing it, we stray from who we are. We stray from being ourselves. And I am not just talking about being ourselves in the way we express, in having pink hair and tattoos on our body. I'm really loud and I'm out there and I like to prove a point. Maybe that's why I look like this. But I'm talking about being who you are at the core of your soul, who is worthy, who is made to thrive, who is made to be the receiver of good experiences. That is who you really are. That is what being yourself really means. Being connected to your soul truth. And so slowly and slowly we see this system, we're interpreting this system, this mold, this model of who we have to be happy, who we have to be successful. Who we have to be to get the things that we want, even if we don't know those are the things we're striving for. And who we are gets shoved further and further down. And so most people are living with this internal discord that's just a constant rubbing, a constant friction internally. I feel fortunate enough that mine was so strong that it hit me in a rock bottom, because that rock bottom propelled me in another direction. I really genuinely feel grateful for that, because I feel like so many people are putting up with things they don't have to put up with. So I actually welcome problems, and I invite you to do the same thing and to see your problems and your pain for what it is and recognize it, because in the moment that you recognize it, call it what it is. This is a problem. If you're not happy, thriving, and fulfilled, that should be a problem. That should be worthy of attention, so you can move in the other direction. But we're living in a world that has accepted suffering, that has accepted pain as the norm. And so there's two places that our pain always is coming from. The first place is when who we are doesn't match the model of the world that we've been given. So when we feel like who we are doesn't match what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be in this life. And the second cause of pain is when the circumstances and the events unfolding in your life don't match the model of the world that you believe. And why is that? Because they're contradicting forces. Because it's like who I am doesn't match who I'm being told to be. Or the circumstances in my life that are unfolding, the way people are treating me, even the traumas, the dramas, the breakdowns, don't match my model of the world. So two places. It's always where it comes from. So what is the solution? How do you turn that into your power? How do you turn those pains into your power? I always say that the umbrella of everything that I teach, everything that I speak about, if I had to put it in one sentence, is viewing your life from the perspective of your soul. Reframing the events that unfold in your life from the perspective of your soul. Because when you are not framing it that way, when you aren't viewing it through that lens, that's where the suffering is coming from. That's where the pain is coming from. The event itself might initially be painful. It might be that hard knock, but it does not have to be painful. It doesn't have to remain painful. So those are the two places that our pain is always coming from. Always. And when we know that, we have the power to transform it. Always. So I invite you, as I'm talking, to start to maybe think about the pains in your life. Or I use pains and problems and challenges all synonymously. To start to look at those and think like, okay, how can I view this from the perspective of my soul? If it's causing me pain and I'm not already viewing it from that perspective, how can I start to move the needle in that direction? And that's what I did, and that's why I am standing here. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people view things in this light, come home to who you really are. Turn that pain into the greatest foundation for your greatest dreams. But only you can make that decision. Only you can be the one moving that needle. Nobody handed me a slip. Nobody told me you can write a book. Nobody told me that. Nobody was like, you can be an author. You can get on stage and speak to people. Your story has meaning. Nobody told me that. I had to decide it, and I decide it every single day when I wake up. And I now live from the belief that everything that shows up in my life, every pain, every struggle, anything that comes and kind of knocks me now, I'm like, where is this propelling me now? How can I reframe this from the perspective of my soul to live in a better way? To live more authentic to myself, to be more myself, my physical self and my infinite self. So I invite you to start asking yourself the same questions. Because the freedom from the pain, the freedom from any struggling, the freedom from anything is not in the form of an external circumstance. It is not. And we grow up in a culture that teaches us to chase these externals at a place of never arriving, never being done, never being finished, never arriving at that place of happiness. Do you ever notice that? Do you ever notice that you hit a place where you're like, this was a dream long ago, or this was just an idea long ago? And you're like, oh, I'm still me? I don't really feel that much different. I had this experience when I published my book. I got the first copy in the mail and I was like dancing around my whole house. Like I was screaming, I was dancing, I was excited, and then I was kind of like, okay. And I sat on my couch and I looked at it. I'm like, gosh, it's gorgeous. And I was like, now what? I was like, now what? Still me. Still me. It wasn't the moment of getting that book in the mail. That was cool. That was cool seeing the last final drop of it, like of years of passion and years of work and years of sharing. But I was like, cool, yeah, now what? Like, I think I'm going to write a second book. Right? And so there's always the next thing. So if we're in pain, if we're in struggle, if we're in conflict with ourselves as we're moving towards the things we want, what's the point? What is the point? I will tell you, when I look back at 4 years ago to now, today wasn't the big pop for me. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. I love being here. I am so honored to be here. And I'm like, now what? What's next? What's bigger? Where are we going? It was every step along the way, every moment that I made a decision to frame something from the perspective of my soul versus the perspective of my mind that was fulfilling, that made me happy, that made me feel peace, that made me feel love, that made me feel worthy and valuable. The outside circumstance does not bring it. And so I want to invite you to start to view your problems from this foundation or from this lens, from this perspective, that your problem, your pain, your challenge, whatever that thing is that's like dragging like a weight on your ankle, whatever that thing is, it can be the most painful thing in your life for your entire life, or it can be the foundation, the launching off point into the absolute best version of your life. And that is why they show up. We got confused along the way, you guys. We got confused by other humans, by people that influenced us as we were growing up, of what our problems meant, of what it means when the events and the circumstances in our life are not unfolding according to our model of the world, according to the way other people told us it should be. Do you ever notice that? Like if something happens in your life, like an event unfold, like something that you feel like is bad happens, and that like it actually feels so bad because it's not the way you think it should be. That's it. So those things showing up, it's a misinterpretation. It all comes down to a misinterpretation of what the events in our life mean, of what they mean. And this is where you can choose your own power, because you have the power to choose the meaning of the events in your life. I chose that 10 years of drug and alcohol, complete self-abuse. I mean, I could put it in a big container of self-abuse. I chose to frame that, to give that a meaning of what is now my entire life's purpose, what is my entire life's work, what gets me up in the morning. And not like drags me out of bed, gets me up, like flies me out of bed. I'm excited, I'm passionate, I'm stoked. I was awake for like 24 hours traveling here, like on an overnight flight and then a bus. And then I was so tired when I got here yesterday at like 5 p.m. I could like barely keep my eyes open. I'd had the same makeup on for 24 hours. I was like, oh my God. But I was so excited. I was like, I don't care. I'm still going to go into the town and like, what can I eat? Like, where are we going? Where is everyone? You know? But we have to choose that. You have to choose that. And I want to be an example. I can't make you choose that, but every day I wake up and I make a choice to be an example of that to other people. To be an example of turning my pain into my power. And I still choose to do it every day. I choose the meaning. And when something new comes up, because it does, there's always a new challenge. That's the thing. I used to get angry because when I would go to personal development stuff, I started getting this complex in my head that the people up that were talking up here were like they were like in this cloud and like perfect. And I was like, how do I just be perfect? How do I just get to that arrival place in my life where everything's great? And that's not the case. It's all an inner game. It's all an inner game. It's all how we choose to frame things. Because as your life gets bigger, there's actually more problems. There's more places where things can go wrong. There's more moving parts. There's more people in the scenes. And so every day we can choose to frame those problems, to frame those challenges into like, how is this propelling me forward? How can I reframe this to propel me forward? How can I turn this pain? How can I turn this challenge? How can I turn this obstacle into the foundation, into the launching off place? In my mind right now, as I'm explaining, I see like a trampoline. How can I use it to bounce me into where I want to be? Bounce me into who I want to be. Bounce me into my greatest dreams and desires, whatever those are. And hear me when I say that our dreams and desires are different for every person. So it's about tapping into your soul, your blueprint. So I want to leave you with that. I want to leave you with every day asking yourself that question: how can I frame this in a way that serves me? What meaning can I give this that empowers me instead of disempowering me? And like, I could talk for 10 days on this, but I'm getting the wrap up signal in the back. So I have to end this portion of what we're talking about, but now it's even more exciting because now you guys get to be a little more involved, and I am here to help open it up to a Q&A.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Kat. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Thank you.